everybody, this is Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert, a NASCAR podcast. The playoff crunch would be on for the Truck and Cup Series this past weekend in Richmond. Many would have to put it all on the line to have any chance at a championship this year. Storylines going into the weekend, starting with trucks, with Halmar-Friesen Racing not pursuing a playoff waiver for Stewart Friesen. Jake Garcia is in the final playoff spot. Two-time champ Ben Rhodes is the first driver on the outside looking in. Could Rhodes pass Garcia in the standings for the final spot? Or could another driver get their first win of the season and clinch their ticket to the Truck Series playoffs? Cup, drivers not locked into the playoffs are starting to have their time run out. Buescher and Ryan Preece sit on the bubble. Could a first-time driver steal the show and shake up the standings? Or will Denny Hamlin steal the trophy in his home state as he's done before? That wasn't all of the racing action going on last weekend. ARCA would be on the 1-mile dirt track of the Illinois State Fairgrounds. Recaps of all the races, discussions with Dave, yellow flag, green flag, and very special interview, sneak peek to the Cup Series preview. We have guest winner of the Richmond Cup Series race, Austin Dillon, joining the show. Super excited to talk to Austin. Predictions for Daytona and Madison on the ARCA side, plus so much more on this episode of Splash of Gas. As always, we're sponsored with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. If you mention Splash of Gas when booking a trip with Dave, you will receive a $50 Disney gift card to use on your trip. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek and on-track updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Now for the ARCA Series recap from Springfield. After qualifying on the dirt 1-mile track, Butterbean Queen would be on the pole, followed by Max Reeves making up the front row. Queen would hold the lead early, but 2 yellows for Rex, then would see Brent Cruz get past him for the lead. After the mid-race break and several more cautions, Cruz would cruise to another ARCA Series win. This one is extra special for Brent as it is his first win with the 70 Nitro Motorsports ARCA car, the same team he runs his newly found Truck Series team out of. Also, congratulations to LeVar Scott, who finishes second in this one. Now for trivia answer time. This episode's question is, for the longest time, the second race at Daytona was held on the 4th of July. Who won that first 4th of July Daytona race? Answer coming at the end. Now for the Truck Series recap. Corey Heim would win the pole on a hot Friday afternoon in Richmond. He and Ty Majeski will lead the field to green that night. Green flag, Heim would get the jump and take the lead as Majeski follows. Lap 18, Majeski would catch Heim and take the lead from him. As the laps of the first stage counted down, Ty Majeski would start to put a gap in between him and Lane Riggs, who on lap 48 would pass Heim for the second spot. The rest of the stage would stay green. Ty Majeski wins stage 1. There would be 2 early yellows in stage 2. Majeski and several others would pit under the second yellow as leaders stay out. On fresher tires, Ty Majeski would eventually take the top spot again. He wins the second stage. Majeski and Corey Heim restart for the final stage, again tied to the front spot. With 50 laps to go, a bad break for Majeski as his teammate Matt Crafton in the 14th spot would get loose underneath and send both of them spinning. Majeski is able to keep it going. Sammy Smith and Ty restart up front on the following restart. Smith clears for the lead. Corey Heim and Gio Ruggiero battle for second. 19 laps to go. Corey Heim is able to get past Sammy Smith for the lead. Rest of the race stays green. And Heim time rings true in Richmond. Congrats to the 11 truck on another great win. Now the one we all been waiting for, Cup Series recap from Richmond. Ryan Preece, who's on the playoff bubble, wins the pole and starts up front alongside fellow bubble driver Tyler Reddick. Preece would lead early after a cycle of pit stops. Tyler Reddick would be trying to overtake Denny Hamlin for the lead. Reddick makes it happen and wins the first stage. 2311 cars of Bubba Wallace and Reddick restart for stage 2. After contact with Ty Gibbs on lap 181, Reddick would slide from second. Another yellow would come out shortly after Chase Briscoe and Kyle Busch tangle, collecting 12 others. Bubba Wallace and Daniel Suarez restart. Bubba gets the lead and wins the second stage. Michael McDowell and Bubba restart for the third and final stage. After starting on the second row, Austin Dillon would surge to the lead. Unlike the Richmond last year, before the playoffs, the third stage Saturday would stay completely green. Dillon would pit twice during the long stage and return to the lead both times. No controversy this year, and Austin Dillon wins and locks himself into this year's playoffs. Congratulations to the number 3 team. Quick look back at the predictions we made for Richmond and the ARCA race on the dirt track. ARCA went with Max Reeves. He finishes 6th. Trucks tapped Ty Majeski. He wins stage 1 and stage 2. He brings it home 2nd. Cup Series went with Denny Hamlin. He finishes 10th. Now for a yellow flag, green flag. ARCA, green flag. Even though Brent Cruz gets the win, green flag to New Jersey native LeVar Scott, who brings it home 2nd, battling through the dirt in Illinois on Sunday. Truck Series yellow. Daniel Hemrick runs into issues early and is a DNF, being scored in the 33rd position. After he won Martinsville earlier this year, was expecting more out of him on the short track. Trucks, green flag. Just mentioned Ty Majeski wins the first and second stage. Unfortunately, he doesn't get the win he wants. He does finish 2nd. Ty, I think, has a whole lot of momentum going into the playoffs now, starting in 2 weeks in Darlington. We'll see how he bodes. Cup, yellow flag. After sitting on the pole, Ryan Preece loses valuable points in the standings and finishes 35th. Cup Series green. Gotta give it to Austin Dillon. The way things ended last year and his standings coming into Richmond this season had a lot on the line, and he gets it done. Now, the driver we were just talking about, the winner of the Richmond Cup Series race, the driver of the 3 for Richard Childress Racing, Austin Dillon. So thankful and honored to have Austin on the show. Here's what he had to say. Next guest we bring on the Splash of Gas is the Cup Series winner from Richmond and now playoff bound, driver of the number 3 Chevy for Richard Childress Racing, the NASCAR Cup Series, Austin Dillon. Thank you so much for taking the time to join the show, Austin. Congratulations on the win.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. Coming into Richmond, you had a rough day in Indy, but rebound with a P10 finish at Iowa and P15 at Watkins Glen. You scored the win in Richmond last year, but as we know, NASCAR took away your playoff bid from that win. How were you honestly feeling coming back to Richmond this year?
Well, I was excited for sure. You know, there was a lot of emotions going on getting to that point, and we were able to execute. And it was a fairy tale, really. I can't believe that it all worked out the way it did, and God's timing is perfect, man.
Got that right. Awesome. once you got on the track, you're 11th fastest in practice, and you qualify 11th as well. Did the team make any adjustments, and how was the 3 feeling going to green?
Yeah, I thought we progressively got better throughout the night. I thought practice we had a really capable car, but still wanted to tweak on it, and I think we made slight adjustments that just the track came to us as it got darker and more rubber got let down.
Okay, gotcha. Appreciate touching on that. Like many others, you elect to split the first stage and pit on lap 35. You get past several cars and finish stage 1 fourth. What did the first stage tell you about your car and the tire wear there?
Well, I felt like we had a better short run car than last year. I was a bit worried about the longer runs, but we were able to manage those. The takeoff speed was nice to have when we got the lead and really kind of stretched it out. So, I was pretty confident from those restarts into stage 2 to hold on to that 4th place finish there at the end of stage 2.
Okay, gotcha. You passed Preece there, and then you, just like you said, finished stage 2 fourth. As someone knows what it takes to win at NASCAR's highest level, coming into Richmond 28th in the playoff standings, what was your mindset for the final stage there, going into that?
Well, it was just, grinding it out, like really just trying to be smart about hitting my marks, being on point, staying focused, and trying to cut as much lap time as possible in any way possible. When you get to lap traffic, timing those lap cars is really tough. And we did a good job of just executing, getting on and off pit road.
You guys were smooth on that all night for sure. You take the lead in stage 3 early. Crew chief Richard Boswell has you pit on lap 291, and then from the lead with 60 to go, you take back the lead with 51 to go and start to put a gap in between you and Blaney. As the laps counted down, and once you saw the checkered flag, what were you feeling? Must have felt pretty good with the way things ended last year.
Oh, for sure. I mean, counting down the laps for my spotter, I really tried to just stay in the game, because last year I feel like emotionally I had a lot going on during the laps when they were counting down. And I had to go through that caution. I felt like this year I was prepared. If something did happen, I was in a better state. I really didn't release any emotions until I crossed the checkered flag. It was nice to see the white flag, but even then, I wanted to get to the checkered.
Gotcha. Yeah, and in the post-race interview, you seemed pumped and really focused, so appreciate you touching on that. Heard you say on the radio in the second stage that you felt like the bottom lane was working best for you. On the longer runs, would you say the same?
Yeah, for sure. I think our car handled well in the bottom. I think that is more often than not the line that I've been able to be successful with at Richmond.
Okay, gotcha. This win locks you and the 3 into the playoffs. What does the win mean for you and everyone at RCR?
Well, it's huge for RCR, for every employee at RCR. You're competing with the biggest teams out there at the highest level, and proving that we can go to victory lane and execute. And the first round of the playoffs is really sets up nice for my team, and I'm excited to get into that. And those are 3 great tracks for us.
10-4. Before you get into the playoffs, you have Daytona this Saturday to wrap up the regular season. You've won there multiple times before. How are you feeling and looking forward to going back there?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Daytona. Obviously, I think our focus will switch to that 8 team, trying to get Kyle into the playoffs and giving them as much support as we can, and try and also get a bonus point for the playoffs would be nice for us.
Gotcha. Would be nice to have 2 of the RCR cars in the playoffs for sure. You just mentioned the first round of the playoffs. When the first round starts, Darlington, Gateway, then Bristol. Between those 3 tracks, you have 4 top 5s and 11 top 10s. How are you going to get the number 3 into the round of 12?
Well, I think execution. It literally comes back to that. These races are so tight from a speed standpoint. Everyone runs the same speed, so you have to out execute people, put yourself in good positions, and I think that's the key. Is trying to out execute those that you're around.
Gotcha.
seems like executed pretty well in Richmond. Hopefully you continue that into the playoffs. Last question. Saturday night was the first time the 3-car has led 100 laps in the Cup Series since Dale did that in the 98 Daytona 500. You're someone who's grown up with racing in your blood. What does it mean for you to continue to race for your grandfather's team, Richard Childress, and drive the famed number 3?
Well, it's so special, the belief that he's had in me and to stick with me and give me the opportunities that he's given me. It feels great to repay him. And, this is one of the strongest teams I've had in the Cup Series. And I'm hoping to get that freedom victory more often.
Gotcha. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Austin. We'll be in Daytona myself. Hope to see you there. And God bless and safe travels, all right?
Thanks, buddy. Have a good one.
Yep, you too. Thank you.
So cool talking to Austin. I've talked to a handful of Cup Series drivers this year, as you heard. Never a Cup Series driver right after a win. That was awesome. So cool to see how he really broke that down about his mental state, how focused he was, and what he learned from the year before to try to stay more calm in the latter part of that race. I really thought that was interesting. Just so appreciative of Austin's time. And thank you, Jackie from RCR, for setting this up. Now for discussions with Dave. First topic of discussions, Austin Dillon's win and the impact of it. Just breaking that down and just talking to the man himself, AD locks himself into this year's playoff. As mentioned, coming into Richmond, he was 28th in the standings. He did win there last year, but as we know, that did not punch his ticket to the 2024 NASCAR playoffs. This year, Austin is focused and gets it done and locks himself into the playoffs. With NASCAR taking 16 drivers, Dillon is the 14th different driver of this season, meaning there are 2 spots remaining on points. We'll go more into the standings breakdown later in this episode, but really a lot to still talk about. But Austin Dillon's win shakes things up a little bit, and we will see what final drivers make up the group of 16 for the 2025 NASCAR Championship Playoffs. Next topic on discussions with Dave, no more Xfinity Series? Was announced this past Monday at Daytona Beach that in 2026, the NASCAR Xfinity Series would be renamed to the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. This will officially begin on January 1st, 2026, bringing in a bold new character for the series crowded for NASCAR's future stars. The agreement with O'Reilly ends an 11-year partnership with Xfinity and NASCAR. I will truly miss drivers getting out of their cars and say, wasn't fast as that Xfinity internet. Or in Victory Lane, boy, we were fast as that Xfinity internet. To me, that's not going to get old. I know there's other people who grew up with the Busch series and talk about that, but for me, as someone in their late 20s, the Xfinity Series saw so much great races and controversies on the same side as well. As someone really into the sport, I can vividly remember some of the battles at Pocono between Cole Custer and Tyler Reddick on the last lap. Just so much fond memories of the Xfinity Series. And of course, those great memories are going to continue for years and years in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series for sure, as we see NASCAR's next crop of young up-and-coming drivers learn and prosper. Excited for the next step. We'll miss the Xfinity Series, but change is always good. Looking forward to seeing O'Reilly on the cars for next year. Moving right along in discussions with Dave, the 2026 schedules for trucks, Xfinity, and Cup Series have just come out, and there is so much awesomeness to break down. First, let's start off with the trucks. I've mentioned on this show probably a year and a half ago, IndyCar and NASCAR should do a combined doubleheader. It would be awesome. They're finally doing that. The Truck Series will race in the streets of St. Petersburg, Florida, the day before the IndyCar season kicks off there. That is going to be awesome. Always kind of jealous of IndyCar that they start their season out there. Yes, Daytona is the creme de la creme, but it looks pretty nice out there in the marina and such. A little Monaco-esque. But the trucks are going to go there. Been to that street course before. I think it's going to be awesome. 2 thumbs up to the Truck Series schedule. Now we move to the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. No more Xfinity. They do not go to the road course of Portland this year. Some people a little bit upset about that one on the West Coast. Looks like that San Diego street course on the naval base Coronado somewhat replaces that. But the thing for all 3 schedules that I am floored, and we were talking about that there was rumors of NASCAR getting out of Phoenix for the championship race and heading back to Homestead. Home sweet home in Homestead. Super thrilled that NASCAR is putting their championship race back at the 1.5 mile track of Homestead, Miami. Not a knock on Phoenix at all. I just think the accumulation of a whole Cup Series works perfectly in tail with the track in Homestead. Also, it creates such great, fantastic racing when the championship is on the line. Thrilled for that. Looking at the Cup Series schedule, North Wilkesboro gets a points-paying Cup Series race. As much as I'm pumped up about the Homestead Championship, I'm even more excited that North Wilkesboro, they moved the All-Star race out of North Wilkesboro, but they give Cup Series a points-paying race there. When I was in the grandstands watching the truck race earlier that Saturday in North Wilkesboro, the racing is just action, just non-stop. Like, everywhere you look on the track, there's battles going on, and saw that in the open race. I wasn't there for the All-Star race late on Sunday, but I think I'm going to go back out there to see the Cup Series have an actual race there. I'm super thrilled. It's great for North Wilkesboro. Can't wait for that in 2026. As mentioned, the All-Star race will not be going back there. It is announced the $1 Million Mile, the Monster Mile, will take over the All-Star race. Dover will get the 2026 NASCAR All-Star race. In all honesty, this was probably the one schedule change I was meh about. I think the racing that Dover creates on the high banks of the concrete there is great. As someone that grew up in New Jersey, and stories of Martin Truex Jr., Martin Truex Sr., then more recently Ryan Truex nabbing wins there, it's very exciting. And of course, the All-Star race having in Dover is going to, I believe, create a dramatic finish that is going to be great for fans. Just wish they had a points-paying race there, but that's just me being stubborn and from the Northeast. Some people were complaining that Watkins Glen moving the race date from August to May is ridiculous and unfair for the track. It's still on the schedule. As someone that grew up going to Pocono, Pocono used to have 2 races, and they were in June and always in August. And sometimes my family would get out there in June, but August was our staple. We were always there for the second race. And they moved it, and Pocono has one race, and it's in June. Would it be great to, go out in Pocono like years past in August? Of course. But Watkins Glen still has a race. I understand some people were upset, but I understand, change can be hard. I'm someone that doesn't like change. all the time, but they still have a cup race, and it's still going to create the best road course racing on the schedule, in my opinion. So, yes, May in upstate New York might get more rain that time of year. I think they'll still be fine. They can race on the slicks there. Some people would argue that's going to take away from the racing up at Watkins Glen, but I really wasn't too opposed to that date change, but I know others were, so wanted to touch upon that. Next topic, William Byron clinches the regular season championship after Richmond and will collect the 15 bonus playoff points to begin the postseason after the race in Daytona. If there was any chance for the second place driver in the standings, Chase Elliott, to get past his Hendrick Motorsport teammate, Byron would probably have to wreck out early in Richmond and then have other issues in Daytona. Byron doesn't do that. He gets the job done in Richmond. This just gives him more of a playoff cushion going into the round of 16. I think it helps him, fly smoothly into the round of 8. And heck, we've been talking for several years that Byron is a championship favorite. Can he get into the championship 4? I think he has a really good shot this year, and winning the regular season championship this year only improves those chances for him. Last topic on discussions with Dave, Truck Series news was announced at the end of this Truck Series season. 3-time Craftsman Truck Series champ Matt Crafton will be hanging up his helmet. The Thorsmort driver announced officially on Monday. Crafton, who claimed titles in 2013, 14, and 2019, is currently in the middle of his 25th straight full-time Truck Series season. Crafton debuted back in 2000. He's racked up 15 wins, 135 top 5 finishes, and an impressive 331 top 10s over 585 starts. Now 49 years old, Crafton has held a remarkable streak throughout the Truck Series. Wish the best to him in his retirement for him and his family. Way to go, Matt. Now, playoff lookout for the trucks. We'll do my predictions for the round of 8 next week, but here's who's hot and who's not going into the playoffs. Hottest, Corey Heim, hands down, best driver in the series right now and the championship favorite. 7 wins this year, and guess what? He's won the last 2 races. He's looking good heading into Darlington. Hot. 2 wins with 6 top 3 finishes. Lane Riggs is ready to strike in his first playoff berth. Ty Majeski, the last 5 races, all of them have been a 9th place or better, including 2 second place finishes, the most recent at Richmond. Last year's champ Majeski is heating up at the right time. Warm. Daniel Hemrick had an early ending to his day in Richmond. Since Pocono, he has 2 top 5s, including a P2 at Watkins Glen. What can Hemrick do in this year's playoffs? Room temperature drivers. Chandler Smith, even though he won at North Wilkesboro, he hasn't had a top 5 finish since then. Can he turn it up? Tyler Ankrum, I would say he's a couple degrees warmer than Smith, as Ankrum has had a recent top 5 coming at Watkins Glen. Drivers that are chilly. The last 2 races, Grant Enfinger has a 13th or worse finish. Does have the 4th place at IRP. We know Grant can turn it up during the playoffs, but he will need to prove that again. Next driver could be higher up, but with the strange situation with Caden Honeycutt leaving mid-season from Nice Motorsports, now at Halmar-Friesen for the rest of the season, think he will need more time with them to get familiar, but he was 10th in Richmond. Jake Garcia nabbed the last and final spot in the playoffs, somewhat thanks to Stewart Friesen, but Jake was 7th in Richmond and had 2 15th place finishes at IRP and at Watkins Glen. cold. Since his win in Nashville in May, Raja Caruth's best finish are 2 10th place finishes at Pocono and IRP, was 32nd at Watkins Glen and 19th in Richmond. He will need to improve if he wants a chance at the round of 8. Now, playoff lookout, Cup Series. We'll have the official predictions for the round of 16 later in the show, but of the playoff standings for Cup coming into the final regular season race of the year, here's who I like and here's who I don't like. Right now, as mentioned, there's been 14 different drivers to win in the regular season this year at the Cup Series, and they all locked themselves in. That's Hamlin, SVG, Larson, Bell, Byron, Elliott, Blaney, Briscoe, Wallace, Logano, Chastain, Cendric, Berry, and Austin Dillon. Meaning at the current moment, there are 2 spots on points. Tyler Reddick has the 15th spot, plus 89. Alex Bowman has that 16th and final spot, plus 60. With Reddick's point total, plus 89 right now, I think he's going to be fine to make the playoffs. I've never seen anyone lose 89 points in one race. Think Reddick will be in the playoffs, not a problem. That leaves the 16th and final spot. Bowman is plus 60 in points, but as he said after the race in Richmond, Daytona is going to be a must-win for him, because if another first-time driver wins in Daytona, which could easily happen, he's out. He's not making the playoffs. So here is the drivers. We're going to start with the drivers that I would be surprised if they did get a win, but not overly surprised of the surprise drivers. Start with Cole Custer. He's been fast in Daytona and been in the series for a while. Front Row Motorsports car Todd Gilliland always seems to bring speed. They won the Daytona 500 several years ago when Michael McDowell was still with Front Row. Think Todd can bring it. Zane Smith, another Front Row Motorsports car. He's been fast at glimpses at times. And 2 other young drivers we're going to talk about. Carson Hocevar. We know what he can do. If he doesn't get wrecked or caught up in any madness, he could be up front. And same with John Hunter Nemechek. I would not be surprised if JHN grabs the win there. Had him on the show about a month ago. They've been fast too. A veteran that, in all honesty, if you said that AJ Allmendinger was going to have better stats on ovals and super speedways this year than road courses, I would have told you crazy. But that's the way we're in, and Allmendinger since 21st in the point standings, and would not surprise me if a veteran like him were to nab a win, but we will see. Now, of the drivers that are on the outside looking in, that I would not be surprised if they won at all, Justin Haley. He's won before at the Cup Series level at Daytona, even though it was a rain-shortened race. He's won there before in Xfinity, and he'll be back in the Xfinity seat, just getting more practice for the Cup race on Saturday. Daniel Suarez, of all these drivers, Suarez probably has the most on the line. He doesn't have a seat for next year. We know he's not going back to Trackhouse. If Suarez can win in Daytona, it could cement a ride in the Cup Series level for him next year. We'll see. 2023 Daytona 500 champ Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He's 28 in the points. Could he grab a win in Daytona and lock himself in? Could totally happen. Eric Jones, he's been fast this year. We've seen him win the Clash. Well, I think the last year it was in Daytona. That Jones boy can be up front. Just talking about his Daytona 500 win from several years ago in the Front Row Motorsports car. Now Michael McDowell is with Spire Motorsports. Just talking about his teammate, Carson Hocevar. I think those Spire cars are going to be quick. And now it brings us to the RFK cars. None of those 3 cars right now are locked into the playoffs. Don't want to give a preview of my prediction. I think one of these 3 cars is going to nab a win and get in. Could that be Keselowski, Buescher, or Preece? Not sure. Now, that leaves us to the last veteran we're going to talk about, Kyle Busch. He's been in this position before now. Can he get to 8 into victory lane? His teammate, Dillon, was just in victory lane in Richmond. Can RCR go back-to-back? We will sure see. Now, NASCAR history time. Memorable moments from Daytona's summer races. 1974 gave us one of the most strategic finishes in NASCAR history, and it was between two legends of the sport, David Pearson and Richard Petty. They were going head-to-head in the final laps. In a bold, smart move, Pearson actually lifted on the white flag lap, letting Petty take the lead. Pearson was able to tuck behind him, catch the draft, and in a classic slingshot move, Pearson was able to get past Petty on the final stretch, taking the win, but in the end, the King was not too happy about it. 1985 delivered one of the biggest shockers of the Daytona summer race. Greg Sachs, a name no one expected in victory lane that day, took the lead from Bill Elliott on lap 152, and he never gave it back, and ended up being Sachs' only Cup Series win in a 20-year career. But hey, he made it count when he needed to. 1997, fans were treated to a rare sight, an Andretti going toe-to-toe with an Earnhardt in Daytona. What a treat. Late in the race, John Andretti led the field with Dale Earnhardt looming in his mirror on the restart. Andretti dominated by leading a race-high 113 laps, held it strong and took the win, while the Intimidator settled for fourth. 2001 will forever be marked by the tragic loss of Dale Earnhardt at Daytona in the 500 earlier that year. But just months later, in one of NASCAR's most emotional moments, his son, Dale Jr., brought much-needed healing to the sport. Jr. used lessons from his father and won the Daytona summer race. A powerful, unforgettable victory that gave fans something to cheer about. Last race from years past we'll touch upon, 2007, gave us a Daytona thriller for the ages. Jamie McMurray and Kyle Busch went toe-to-toe in the final 5 laps, swapping the lead in a white-knuckled battle. In the end, McMurray edged out Busch by just 0.005 seconds, mere inches to the line. McMurray scores his second career win and his first since back in '02. That wraps up this week's edition of NASCAR History Time. Now, the drivers to look out for: ARCA at Madison Speedway. We'll start with the driver that finished second on the dirt in Illinois, LeVar Scott. Can he turn it up at Madison? A young driver that's got her name noticed in the sprint cars, that's Kaylee Brinson from Oklahoma. She'll be driving a Chevy. What can she do? Max Reeves will be back in the 18 Joe Gibbs machine. He should be a force to be reckoned with. Venturini cars, let's talk about them. Mason Mitchell will be driving the 25, Lawless Allen in the 20, and cannot forget about Isabella Robusto in the 55. We know what those Venturini cars can bring to the track. Now the 28, he's just been so good and gosh darn dominant this year. Butterbean Queen, can he bring it back to victory lane? Last but not least, 15-year-old Tristan McKee, who scored his first ARCA win a couple races ago at Watkins Glen. He'll be in the 82 this time. What can McKee do? Now, the drivers to look out for: Daytona, Xfinity. Very happy to hear that Connor Zilisch will be back in the Xfinity seat for Daytona after that scary fall in Watkins Glen. What can Zilisch do in Daytona? Can't talk about the bigger tracks at the Xfinity level without RCR. Austin Hill and Jesse Love have just been lights out. Love won Daytona earlier this year. Can he sweep? Harrison Burton won the Cup Series race in Daytona summer race last year when he was still driving the Wood Brothers Cup car. He should be a contender at the Xfinity level. Eric Amarola will be back in the Joe Gibbs 19 for Daytona. Can he get the job done? Justin Haley will be jumping back in the Xfinity seat for Colleague Racing in the 11 car, where he's had success before. Xfinity veteran and last year's champ Justin Allgaier should be up front if he can avoid the carnage. Now, drivers to look out for: Daytona, Cup Series, the last race of the regular season. Going into this one, love how the last race of the regular season is back at Daytona. I just think it creates for such thrilling finishes where truly anything can happen. Here are the drivers to look out for. Start off with this year's regular season champion. Mentioned he clinched that after Richmond, and he won this year's Daytona 500. William Byron. Can he cap off the regular season with a bang and get the win? What will drivers on the bubble be able to do? Will Tyler Reddick, Alex Bowman, Chris Buescher, Ryan Preece, or someone lower in the point standings steal their spot in the playoffs? Or will they crumble as time runs out? We will see. Team Penske across the board has been really good on the super speedways, and each of them could get the win, and they each have wins this season. Logano, Blaney, and Cendric should all be drafting with each other up front. Last but not least, 3 veterans below the cut line that all could strike on Saturday are Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Kyle Busch, and of course, Brad Keselowski. Now for Fast Davies bets. Xfinity. Harrison Burton, as mentioned, won the Cup race last year in Daytona in the summer. He's plus 330 for a top 5 in Xfinity. Solid one in my opinion. Cup, top 3 finish for Ryan Preece is plus 800. I think Preece will be up front when it counts. Now for trivia answer time. This episode's question is, for the longest time, the second race at Daytona was held on the 4th of July. Who won that first 4th of July Daytona race? Answer is none other than NASCAR Hall of Famer Fireball Roberts. Now for our predictions for the round of 16. As mentioned, the 14 drivers that have won this year are already locked in. Then currently 15th, plus 89 points, Tyler Reddick. Alex Bowman in that 16th and final spot, plus 60. The outside looking in, then Chris Buescher minus 60, Ryan Preece minus 94, then so on and so forth. As I said earlier, Reddick's a lock in my opinion to get into the playoffs with that 15th spot. But I will now do my predictions, because my prediction for Daytona will give away who I think is going to get the 16th and final spot. Predictions for Madison and Daytona. ARCA, give me Max Reeves to get the win. I predicted him last week. Think it will be a battle between him and Butter being out there in Madison, but give me Max Reeves and the Joe Gibb equipment to get the ARCA win. Xfinity, I think Jesse Love goes back-to-back and sweeps the Xfinity Daytona races this year. He was just so good, and we know what RCR can bring to the super speedways. And now for Cup Series, the driver I believe is going to be victorious in Daytona and lock himself into the playoffs will be Ryan Preece. Preece doesn't have next year's Cup ride solidified. RFK could lose one of their charters. We've seen this before in Preece's career. He's racing for a ride right now, and the way past Daytonas have gone for Ryan, I think he's got all the wrecking out of him. I think he's going to have some good luck, and he's been fast. And those RFK cars have truly been fast this year. I was saying earlier in this episode, I am very surprised that none of their 3 drivers has gotten a win this year. I strongly believe that's going to change before the season ends. But will one of them be able to do it in Daytona? That's the question. I think Preece gets it done and wins in Daytona. We'll see how that happens. As mentioned, we'll be on track for all the weekend's action. Please check out Instagram, Facebook for on-track updates. We'll be putting my on-track content right up there for everyone to see. Can't wait to share all the experiences from Daytona. Hopefully some more driver interviews as well. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek and on-track updates as just mentioned. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Again, thank you everyone for listening. Can't wait to get over to the east coast of Florida at Daytona. We'll keep you updated. Till next time, Splash of Gas out.